Now, getting some breaking news into the Bureau here. Police in West Bloomfield, Michigan, now responding to an active shooter, we're told, at Temple, Israel. The West Bloomfield Police Department set out an alert urging residents to avoid the area now. Schools and houses of worship are advised to shelter in place. The Jewish Federation of Detroit issuing a statement saying that Jewish agencies are currently in a precautionary lockdown scenario. Aaron Katersky, I want to bring you back in for this. I know you're tracking it. Javed Ali, also former senior director for counterterrorism on the National Security Council. You and I were talking earlier today about these types of threats that are out there. Aaron, let's start with you. What's the latest right now?
The FBI has just arrived on scene at Temple, Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Kira, this is where the Michigan State Police say they responded to an active shooting incident that is ongoing. And the Michigan State Police says it is asking community members to stay away from the area to allow for police response. State troopers in Michigan are also increasing patrols at other places of worship in the area near the Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Kira, the preliminary information that we're hearing from law enforcement officials is that a vehicle crashed into the synagogue. We had seen thick black smoke coming from a part of the building that also houses a school for children. That was underway at the time, and kids were seen coming out of the building. So it's a bit of an alarming situation, but law enforcement says they are responding. The FBI has just arrived on scene to assist, and it's not clear exactly what precipitated this. There does seem to be some gunfire that was heard. We're still waiting for officials to confirm, but the Michigan State Police is calling this an active shooter situation that is at the moment ongoing.
So, Javed, you know this community very well. What can you tell us about the synagogue?
So, Karen, nice to be back with you again. So I actually grew up in this location before moving to Washington, D.C. in the mid-'90s, so I know exactly where that synagogue is. As Aaron was reporting, it's still unclear what has actually happened in terms of the attack.
If you have nothing to do with the situation, don't go there.
Now.
Don't come to the area. It's active and it's busy, and we're still trying to figure it out.
Oh, guys, can you say anything about potential cat?
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Double honors to my apostle, elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings be unto the elect. This is Brother Davidoff from GMS Detroit Camp coming at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem HaKadosh. Today I want to do a video going in on this topic here. All right, you saw at the beginning of this lesson, Lord's will, this will be edifying to the elect. And by the way, this will be another in transit. Now, you saw the opening clip, and you had, this huge situation that was taking place in West Bloomfield, Michigan, and this happened just yesterday on the 12th, all right, March 12th, 2026. All right, in West Bloomfield, Michigan, that's where a lot of small hats, a lot of tiny hatters, a lot of mad hatters live, in West Bloomfield. And it's a very rich, upscale community. Very, very upscale. Tons of million-dollar houses. Many, many million-dollar houses. That's another proof that shows you that they can't be the people because, the real people of the Lord, they ain't going to be able to be living in such huge communities in West Bloomfield. All right, the vast majority of our people live within, very poor living conditions. All right, we can only dream of going to West Bloomfield to live in. Their houses are million-dollar houses, $600,000-$700,000 houses. A whole block can have multi-million-dollar houses on it. It's very rare that you see a Jake that actually owns a home within West Bloomfield. Usually they'll have dual income. They may be doctors, nurses, what have you. But it's rare. Okay, and a lot of times those Jakes that live over there are, either first generation or second generation immigrants that came over here, got a degree and, got a good job. The vast majority of our people are not living like that. A lot of these small hatters live in that area. And that shows you that they're not the people. The true people of the Lord will predominantly be living within the ghettos. All right, poor living conditions. All right, and those same Jakes that moved out to West Bloomfield, they came from poor living conditions. All right, within their native lands. You know, I don't think I know anybody that moved from Detroit to West Bloomfield. But anyways, that were not, you know, foreign. You know, in other words, they weren't born in America. But anyways, transitioning on, you see this mess going on, and this comes after, you know, the weeks of information being spoken about and released concerning, you know, what the small hats are doing over there, you know, bombing Iran. Here it is. Iran got bombed. America teamed up with Iran. Slovakia teamed up with the small hats against Iran, and they said that a school was attacked in Iran, and I believe 27 were injured. And here it is, you're attacking a school with kids in it, and you actually deleted people. But we're supposed to. But why isn't that pushed on the forefront of the news? Why isn't that breaking news? Why isn't that being spoken about? Why isn't that an atrocity? But here it is, the small hats here, they get it allegedly. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was an inside job. You know, here it is, the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, she did a press conference this morning saying that this is an act of anti-S, you know, and that basically that people need to be more, she even went as far as to say people need to be careful about their rhetoric about these people. But what about the people that you bombed in Iran? What about those 27 people that were injured and those people that were killed when you bombed that school? This devil, he's a hypocrite. And there's two ways to find out who's in power. A, follow the money. B, find out who it is that you can't speak against. All right? Once you follow those two, then you figure out who it is that's in power. And obviously these small hats are the ones that are pulling the strings. All right? And they're pushing this propaganda out, this information. If you look on the news, it's breaking news. Everyone's talking about it on the news because they want you to feel some type of sympathy for them. They want you to feel bad for them because right now people are looking at the small hats like the bad guy, like the bully on the block. And they, Netan, not a Jew, he said, look, one of the wars that we're fighting is against the information that's being spread on the internet. You know? I forget the term that he calls it. It's a certain term that he calls the war against the information being pushed on the internet. But he said that's one of the things that he's warring against. You know, or the small hats have to war against the information on the internet, because we're at the point now where the internet is blown up into a huge thing, even to the point where people are broadcasting their opinion on what these small hats are doing and how they don't like that the small hats are being so coddled by America, whereas the citizens of America are catching hell within the states. You know, so when anything happens to these small hats, everyone needs to cry for them and feel bad for them and support them and protect them. But when they're the aggressors, it's okay, it's all right. You know, I'll show you this devil. He's a hypocrite. You know, this devil's a hypocrite. And here it is, you know, you got all these different major news outlets speaking about this, you know, but how come they're not speaking about the PDF files? How come they're not talking about that? How come they're not talking about, allegedly the FBI is looking into Epstein's home to find the bodies of two, young girls that he deleted as he was doing his filth to them? You know, why isn't that being pushed on the forefront? See, that's this devil for you. I'm gonna let this ad play, and then I want to get this information out. You know, I was hoping to find. Oh, here we go. This is even better.
We are Michiganders. This was a school. These are.
See, in this demon Gretchen Whitmer, which I call Witchmer, she's clearly juiced in. You know, but nevertheless, she said, "Well, this was a school." But what about the school that you bombed in Iran? You bombed a school in Iran. You know? and people are actually hurt and deleted. But that's not pushed as an atrocity. No apology from the so-called white man.
0 to 5-year-olds that were targeted yesterday, 104.
Isn't that something? 0 to 5-year-olds that were targeted, and but what about those people that you destroyed in Iran?
My friend Brian said this could have looked a lot more like Sandy Hook, right? Like, let's not lose sight of that. This is.
But what about what you did in Iran? That's these devils for you. They have no remorse. They don't feel sorry for what they're doing, and they have no problem with pushing propaganda to make you feel bad, to make you feel like you need to feel bad for the small hats, But when the small hats do their dirt, oh no, it's okay because they're small hats and they have to be protected. That's this devil.
Not a political moment. This is not a political debate. This is targeting babies who are Jewish. That's anti-Semitism at its absolute worst, and that's.
But what about he said? She said targeting, these children and whatnot, and this is anti-S to its worst. All right, but let's look at this. This shows you that this demon, this devil, is a hypocrite.
Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, there are demands by congressional Democrats for an independent probe into a heartbreaking deadly strike on an Iranian girls' elementary school on the first day of the war. President Trump has suggested the U.S. may not be responsible, while Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says the Pentagon is still investigating exactly what happened. ABC News' visual.
Wait. So this school gets bombed in the first day of your war, and Trump and the FBI don't know what the hell happened? What was it? Did the guy go rogue? Did you lose track of your military men? And they just so happen to bomb a school with young girls? Come on now. But when it comes to what happened to this small hat, we watched the news today. They found the guy. It's a guy from Iran, and he's upset about what's happening over there, and he took it out on these kids. You found that guy, but you couldn't find who was responsible behind this. That's this devil for you. That's why the scriptures say what? It says that when the wicked doeth or saith something good, he hath yet 7 more abominations within his mouth. Roughly paraphrasing the scripture. That's this devil. He's the wicked. He can't do right even if he wanted to. Isaiah 28. I believe it's 28 and 10. Or it's Jeremiah 28 and 10. I get it mixed up. It might be Jeremiah 28 and 10, but it says, can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? Then may ye do good that are accustomed to doing evil. This devil's accustomed to doing evil. He can't help but to do wickedness.
Analyze the available. President Trump has suggested the U.S. may not be responsible.
We might have did it, we might not have did it. I don't know. Aren't you the so-called commander-in-chief? Ain't this something?
While Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says the Pentagon is still investigating exactly.
It's like I said, the FBI, the Secretary of Defense was still investigating it. But when it came to this small hat, what happened to the small hats, they found this guy within 24 hours.
What happened? ABC News' visual verification team analyzed the available footage and satellite images to try to piece together exactly how things unfolded. Here's our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell.
At Tehran University, rows of pencil cases and brightly coloured rucksacks now hang on display. Each one represents a child who never came home from school.
See? These individuals never came back home because Esau bombed them the first day of the war. But we don't know what happened. It might have been us, it might not. Like, come on now. You're not fooling anybody. And then on top of that, not only did you bomb these children, but how come this isn't still a major headline? How come this isn't being spoken about, on these different, news outlets? How come this isn't a major thing right now? It just shows you how this devil gets down. He loves to do evil. All right? He gets off on it. Now, let's look this up, since I've reached my destination. Now, I'm going to type in, let's see, West Bloomfield. Type that in. Apparently, he's a Lebanese immigrant. It says Temple is a small hat attacker identified as Lebanese immigrant who became a U.S. citizen. All right. Now, let's see if anybody was deleted. All right. I just want to see that. Or if that happened or not. So, I don't know if the guy was Iranian, if he lived in Lebanon, but they said the guy was Lebanese. I think I heard on the news today that he was Iranian. Let me see. I'm trying to find something more recent. Okay, let's see. So they deleted the suspect, which how convenient. They deleted the suspect, or let's see. Either they deleted him or he died. Let's see. Look at this. See, Esau's hands is in this. It says the suspect has been identified as Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, a 41-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Lebanon and came to the U.S. in 2011. He died on Thursday during the incident at the Temple Small Hat in West Bloomfield, Michigan, where more than 100 children were attending school. The suspect's cause of death remains undetermined. Ain't you wiser than Daniel? How the hell do you not know how he died? And how convenient is it that you go, well, we don't, the guy's just dead. I mean, we know where he's from, but we don't, he's just dead and we don't know how he died. It says, officials said security from Temple Israel did fire their weapons at the suspect. Well, hold on. If you don't know how the guy died, but they claim that they were shooting him, what, did he burn? Did the car explode? Did he get shot? Like, how do you not know this? 30 police officers were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation as the synagogue became engulfed in flames from the truck the suspect drove into the Temple Israel. Now look at this. The school's 140 students, staff, and teachers have all been accounted for and are safe. So none of them. It says, what we know about the synagogue attack in Michigan, the attacker who drove into Temple Smallhead in West Bloomfield Township, a 41-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen, is dead. No one else was deleted. So no one else got deleted. The only ones that were hurt were the officers that were on the scene, according to what I'm seeing. All right. And yet, what about the atrocity that happened to these children? What about them? Here it is. This is the worst anti-S thing that could have ever happened. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Look at
We have
this
the president
devil.
there talking about his predecessor, but just before that, and the Iran nuclear deal. But before that, he was talking about the war on Iran, in his view, being successful so far, as he's on the road there in Kentucky. It comes as a preliminary investigation is putting the blame potentially on the U.S. for a deadly strike on that Iranian elementary school because of possibly old intel that showed it as a military target, according to two sources.
Oh, come on. People will eat that up. This is something else. So we had old intel, so we just took them out, and we just old it like this devil. He's getting so sloppy. His lies ain't even adding up anymore, because the Heavenly Father is bringing this devil low. I'm just gonna get one scripture, and then that'll be it. Jeremiah 49 and verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? At one time, this devil was prolific. He ain't prolific anymore. He's lost his grit, or not his grit, but his wisdom, his cunningness. Now all his plans right now are all sloppy. They got holes in the story, and it don't add up. This the best you could come up with?
We'll show you some video of that strike. You see it there, that plume of smoke coming up. I want to show you how the president responded to that.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
And wow! He said, I don't know about that. Then he walks off.
President saying
that's all he got to say. I don't know about that. And then walks off. Look at this devil.
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
I don't know about that. And walks off. This man's a devil. Esau's the devil. Here it is. When it's the small hats, you know, this which again, it could have been set up just to gather sympathy for the small hats. But nevertheless, that happens over there in West Bloomfield. No small hat there got injured. None of them got deleted. None of them got injured. None of them. But here it is. What happens over there in Iran? They get bombed. Multiple children at that are actually deleted, but there's no outcry. Esau doesn't give a damn. Oh, we're looking into it. Oh, well, I don't know if it was us. I don't know about that. And walks off. Show you that this devil's a hypocrite. So with that, our praise not as the glories be to Yahweh about Shemi Yahushai. Keep on watching this news. And as the Yahushai said, watch as well as pray. And we see how this thing progresses. All right? Double honor to my apostle, knows the very millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.